anytime an agent moves on or makes a transition, it's difficult for everyone. It's difficult for the agent, it's difficult for our clients, it's difficult for our team. It's a big, big transition. So, we completely understand where the panic comes from.
Yeah.
I guess my biggest piece of advice to actors would just be, try your best to remain calm, understand that you are still going to be a working actor no matter what agent you're with. It's just a matter of finding the right fit for you. And so you may have the opportunity to move with that agent to your new agency. You may not. You may stay where you're at. You may look at other options. But you have options. And it's important to know that you have options. And hopefully you don't feel like you're just being, left in the dust. I think, for actors, it can be a hard transition, but I also think it's important to remember that as agents, this is our career. And so we sometimes just have to make these moves the same way that you do in your professional life. When it's time to grow and to elevate in your career, we have to make difficult decisions and difficult transitions. So I would just give your agent as much grace as you can, because they're also probably very, very stressed about it. And it's hard for us to make that as well.
Welcome to Get Seen Unscripted. I'm your host, Jesse Malinowski. We are going to dive into acting insights, meet industry pros, and master the business. Don't forget to subscribe and share. We're keeping you behind the scenes and ahead of the game. Hey, everyone. This is Get Seen Unscripted, and I'm your host, Jesse Malinowski. Thank you so much for coming back. If this is a show that you continue to come to, if this is your first time, welcome. So happy that you're here. I know there's so much content out there, so I really appreciate you giving us some trust and tuning in. Now, I will say, if this is your first time here, you don't have to subscribe. This is a freebie, but if you've listened more than once, now you're just taking advantage of us. You got to subscribe to the channel, because we bring in incredible industry pros and agents and casting directors along with working actors. So I don't want you to miss an episode that I promise you is going to help you on your journey. And we're going to help you on your journey right now, as we're hanging out with another talent agent today from Resolute Artists Agency, Caroline Norton. What's up?
Hey, how are you?
I'm very good. Happy to have you here. And this is like our first time kind of hanging out and meeting. And so it's just wonderful to meet more of the industry. And so I know you moved here from Texas, right?
Yeah.
And so did you move like solely because of the industry and you wanted to just be part of the Southeast industry? Like how did that come about and you ended up here in Atlanta?
Yeah, essentially. So I grew up acting. I went to school for acting in Texas. And my fiance and I had been we'd been thinking about leaving Texas for a while, weren't quite sure where to go. And, at that point in my career, I was kind of just starting as an agent, and I'd heard so much about the Atlanta market. And I just thought, all right, well, as an agent for my career, there's basically 3 places I can go, and that's LA, New York, and Atlanta. And I'm not really an LA girl, don't really like California that much. I really like having seasons.
Yeah.
And New York just didn't really feel like the right place for me. And I was like, you know what, let's check out Atlanta. Truly had never been here before. And my fiance works in finance and can kind of go anywhere. And so he's like, yeah, sure. Maybe in like a year or so, we'll find our way in Atlanta. And then he got a job offer out here like right away. And they were like, can you be here in 2 months? And we're like, oh, yeah, for sure. So we basically packed up and came immediately.
Wow, hold on. Do you take credit for this job offer? You're like, I said Atlanta, and then voila.
I put it into motion. That's all I'll say. I floated the idea of Atlanta, and he was one who's like, oh, I have a colleague who works out there. Maybe we'll see if something can happen. But it came together much quicker than we anticipated. And I ended up getting a job offer from an agency out here and got my start. And it's just been go, go, go ever since. And we absolutely love it here.
That's awesome. I love so much. If we take like you in Texas, I don't mean like an outsider, but someone that's not living here, right? It's easier to live here and be like, yeah, we're a big market and we're competing with New York and LA. So like, I love to hear the story of like, you're out in Texas and you're like, really, there's only 3 places to go.
Mm-hmm.
Los Angeles, New York, and Atlanta. And I just love that Atlanta like truly is in the conversation. I mean, I believe it is, but from someone that truly isn't part of any of the markets at that time, right? To be like, those are the only 3 options.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even as an agent in Texas, we were seeing breakdowns come in from Atlanta all the time. And, one of the first things I booked as an agent was a couple of babies in the family plan, which shot out here in
Oh
Atlanta.
yeah.
And so that was kind of what sort of piqued my interest. Like, okay, what's going on out here? And just the more that I learned about the business as a whole and the more I saw the breakdowns coming in, the more I just got excited about everything that was coming to Atlanta. It just seemed like it was growing and growing. And I really do have a passion for regional markets. I believe you can be a working actor pretty much anywhere. And, I worked with actors in Texas who were at all different levels of their career, and just kind of wanted to see what it was like in another regional market where people are really proud of where they're from, where they may not be in LA or New York, but they're on the come up and there's still really exciting things happening. And I was just really excited by that prospect.
What was the biggest reason you kind of, because you said you started out as an actor, what created that transition into the agent world?
Yeah, I mean, I think like most people, COVID kind of made me take a step back and reevaluate a lot of things about my life.
Yeah.
I was graduating from my BFA program and I just realized that as much as I loved acting and I loved performing and I was so passionate about it, I realized that what I was really passionate about was just connecting with actors. I loved seeing storytellers evolve and grow and see people get their big breaks and see them learn and develop as an actor and train. And I just really loved being in those creative environments with working actors. And so I started thinking about the different avenues that I could go with that and how I could kind of stay in the business and stay working with and for performers without being one myself. And so it led me to apply to an agency just to kind of see how it went. And I ended up really loving it and really, really grateful to still be doing it.
I think it's so important what you just said, that there's so many, well, for one, there's so many jobs within the film and TV industry, right? And so normally, I think everyone usually feels like, I'm going to go be an actor, right?
Yeah.
But you kind of, I think, maybe miss that, like, it's not the actor thing that you really love. It's the connection. It's the
Hmm.
being in the industry
Hmm.
at any aspect of it. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so, like, I love you having the ability to pivot, to transition, and being like, I really like this more. And I just feel like I hear this type of story, just
Hmm.
adjacent, if you will, so often. And I think it's really important for us to take notice of, like, we're in this industry, and, like, based on where I'm at right now, do I like all of the elements of this? Or
Hmm.
should I shift a little bit? And will
Yeah.
that help? And will that make me a little bit happier?
Hmm.
So, like, I love that you were able to do that, and it's been so well. What would you say is the biggest difference between the Texas market and now the Atlanta market, you being here?
Yeah, I mean, it's evolved since I've left the Texas market now with all of the Taylor Sheridan coming into Texas and their film incentives are getting better and better. So it has changed in the last few years. But when I was there, it was a very, very commercial market. I mean, I would say like 80% of what we were booking out there was commercial work, mostly coming out of Austin, some out of Dallas. Um, and it was just very, very heavily focused on commercial. And then when I came to Atlanta, it's just a much more diverse market. We have so much TV and film shooting here. Obviously, we still have that great commercial market as well, but there's just a lot more going on. So I think there's that. And then it's also just a very different demographic of talent. And I feel like people come to Atlanta from all over. You just get such a blend of cultures here and backgrounds and all kinds of actors coming into this. Whereas from Texas, I feel like it's a little bit more. It can be harder to kind of bring people in. I feel like not as many people are bringing or are coming to Texas to act and to perform,
Sure.
so you don't quite get that pool. Hi.
Yeah, that makes
So,
sense. How do you see, speaking of Texas and the new incentive and stuff like that, you have, Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey
yeah.
really, pushing hard, and it seems like they're really getting traction too.
Yeah.
Being out there though, I feel like there needs to be a real foundation, right? And I
Mhm.
think that's, like, Atlanta has been building that over the last decade. How do you see Texas over the next maybe like 5 years? Like, do they have a lot to build, or are they kind of ready to hit the ground running with this new incentive and, all of that kind of getting in place?
Yeah, I mean, I think they do have a lot to build. Like, they certainly don't have the giant film studios that we have here in Atlanta. They certainly don't have as many filming locations kind of set up. They don't have the infrastructure. That said, though, they have great locations. So, where I'm from, Fort Worth, now the stockyards are being used for filming more and more because people want that like cowboy western vibe. But they don't necessarily have all the infrastructure that we have here in Atlanta. So I think it's something that's going to continue to develop, but I think it's going to be a while before they kind of catch up to exactly where Atlanta is, just in terms of like the systems that we already have set up and all the filming locations and opportunities that we have here. But it definitely is growing. And it's funny now, like looking back at my colleagues like that I worked with in Texas and my actor friends who are there, just seeing more and more opportunities come there. It's super exciting. And I'm always happy to see any regional market grow. I think it's so important to bring work anywhere we can get it. So.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens.
Mhm.
Like will because the Southeast is so used to kind of working in multiple states, will we kind of almost blend together?
Mhm.
Will it be normal for Texas actors to be working in Georgia and Atlanta actors working in Fort Worth or whatever? Like,
Mhm.
well, I'm interested to see, and as an actor, and I'm sure many actors listening, it's like, you want to be local everywhere, you want
Right.
to be able to work everywhere. So as Texas grows, I'm sure everyone will be trying to be involved in some area.
Yeah.
Hey, if you are a parent of a young rising star, then listen up. We have what we call our Rising Star program, and this program is so simple but so effective. It really follows something I created that I call my triangle of success. And what this does is no matter what actor is trying to move forward in their journey, I believe if you follow the triangle of success, you'll be able to do it. And it's following three simple things: understanding that this is a business, and then improving your auditions, and then improving your connections. And so that's what we do every single month. It's super simple. You get 2 online workshops because the whole program is online, because that's where the business is now. And so you get 2 workshops every single month. One focuses on auditioning, commercial or theatrical, because those are the auditions that you're going to be getting that will eventually make you money when you book them. Theatrical and live Zoom. And so you work on a specific type of audition every single month. And then the next workshop, we bring in an industry pro. Not to mention, there's Q&As with every single industry pro where we can focus on that business. So you see that triangle of success where it's auditions, business, and then connections. When you follow that formula, you will undoubtedly move forward faster in your journey. So I want to hook you up right now. Head to the description in the bio right now, and you will see a discount code for $19 for your first month. That's less than $10 a workshop. So go ahead and try out the first month for only $19, and we'll see you in our Rising Star program.
Texas is almost just its own region entirely, like the Texas
I mean, it's so
breakdowns.
big.
It's so big, and
Yeah.
there are so many different places to be based out of in Texas. You can be in Houston or Dallas or Austin, and there's all different opportunities in different places. What I really like about the Southeast is that because it's so much easier to kind of navigate between the Carolinas and Georgia and Florida, I feel like it's a lot easier for actors to sort of have multiple bases here, and it's just easier to kind of get from place to place. Yeah, I do wonder if maybe someday, Texas kind of grows to a place where it's, more and more people from the Southeast are kind of coming over there and working local in both markets. I think right now it feels very separate. Like there's like the
Right.
Southwest and then there's the East. And
Yeah,
they try
exactly.
really hard not to mix. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how that evolves.
Yeah, definitely. So when you said that you moved here and you got a job with an agency, you've recently switched over to Resolute.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk about, because this happens for actors, right? So
Mhm.
you're working for an agency, you have a roster, obviously, of actors. Essentially, they get an email either from you or from just the agency that's like, so and so is leaving, your agent's leaving. The actor mentality is like freak out mode.
Panic. Yeah.
Panic. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Can you help walk us through like kind of like what's happening behind the scenes and what the best course of action is for an actor in that situation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime an agent moves on or makes a transition, it's difficult for everyone. It's difficult for the agent, it's difficult for our clients, it's difficult for our team. It's a big, big transition. So, we completely understand where the panic comes from.
Yeah.
I guess my biggest piece of advice to actors would just be, try your best to remain calm, understand that you are still going to be a working actor no matter what agent you're with. It's just a matter of finding the right fit for you. And so you may have the opportunity to move with that agent to your a new agency. You may not. You may stay where you're at. You may look at other options. But you have options, and it's important to know that you have options, and hopefully you don't feel like you're just being left in the dust. I think, for actors, it can be a hard transition, but I also think it's important to remember that as agents, this is our career. And so we sometimes just have to make these moves the same way that you do in your professional life. When it's time to grow and to elevate in your career, we have to make difficult decisions and difficult transitions. So I would just give your agent as much grace as you can, because they're also probably very, very stressed about it. And it's hard for us to make that turn as well.
Yeah, I think that's really important to bring up. Like you as the actor, you're not the only one stressed.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, you have the least amount of stress, believe it
Right.
or not, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many parties involved. So what would you say, because you had mentioned, some actors might move with the agent, some might not. It's all a relationship
Hmm.
business. Can you kind of walk through what you think is the best action plan for an actor at that moment? Like, I feel like, I feel like the biggest problem is like it's just a big question mark.
Hmm.
I'm like, well, wait, like, do you like me enough to bring me? Should I go, or how do I go about this? Like, it feels, yeah, it's just question mark land.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think obviously it kind of depends on the relationship that you have with your agent. The hope is that you have a solid foundation with them, and that you can approach them and say, hey, I would love to join you on this transition, or I would love to know more about where you're going. Can we have a conversation? Can we talk about this? I think that is perfectly fine. I had so many actors reach out to me, and, I can't always, set aside the time to meet with every single person, especially, if they're under contract. There are certain like rules and things that we can't get around. That might be a reason why I can't explicitly say like, hey, please come over with me to this agency. I want to be respectful of your contract that you signed with your current agency and with the agency that I'm leaving. I want to make sure that everybody feels respected and everyone's doing their due diligence in that moment. I think for an actor, it's just important to kind of just be open to communication. Don't panic. Try to remain calm, and wait for more communication from your agent. Most of the time, there will be more information that comes. It's just we have to kind of release these things, in waves. So, like when I left, we had to make a statement that I was leaving, and then I had to make another statement about where I was going, and then it was okay, who is eligible to kind of come with me. So I would say, have patience with yourself and with the team and with the agent, and just know like we haven't forgotten about you, and we're doing our best to make sure you're taken care of. These things just take time and can get a little tricky.
I'm so glad that you brought up kind of essentially the legalities of
Hmm.
it that I think can be completely forgotten. It's just like, well, I don't care about that contract. I just want auditions, is
Right.
what the actor's thinking, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, that's not how it works.
Hmm.
And depending on who the agency is, they could take a legal action, and all of that then would come onto you,
Hmm.
correct?
Yeah, and you have to be so cautious and just respectful of the contracts that are in place. And the last thing you want to do as an agent is like poach someone from their contract. It really hurts when that happens as an agent when it's your client. So
Yeah.
we want to be super intentional about the way that we go about that. But yeah, when you sign with an agency, you are signing with the agency, not the agent. So that's just something that's important to remember when you come onto a team, is that you might be signing that 1 year, 2 year contract. But you have to know it's not just with that agent, it's with the agency that you're signing with.
Mm,
So
yeah.
that kind of can put you in a tricky position if somebody's making a transition. So always know your contract, make sure you have it on file, make sure you understand the terms when you're signing on. All of that is really, really important, just so you kind of know where you're at if something like that were to occur.
I think another element of that that is probably smart to remember is, because I love that you're like, you're signing with the agency. And I think actors are probably forgetting that because they might have a point person, or, well,
Right.
I normally talk to Caroline most of the time. So like,
Hmm.
that's who I want to, that's my person. Well, if
Yeah.
you're gone, then like I have no connection with the agency at all. And so
Hmm.
it's like, that's why it's good to remember, I think, as an actor, you have all these relationships with everyone on the team,
Hmm.
if you're doing something for your career, like CC everybody,
Yeah.
if you're going on a trip and maybe bringing back a gift, like don't just bring it back for one person, think
Hmm.
about everyone, because yeah, it is the entire agency. And if something like this happens to you, where an agent maybe leaves and moves on, you don't feel completely lost
Hmm.
connection wise when it comes to the rest of the agents
Yeah,
there.
absolutely. And hopefully, you feel confident that that team that you're signed with knows you and they know your intentions. They know what you can do. They know you as an actor. They also know you as a person. And just understand that, there are systems in place so that if an agent does move on, there's another person who can step up in their place and who understands the roster and can still be submitting you. And it's not like you're just going to be completely lost, I think having that trust in your agency is really important. So exactly as you said, I think that's why it's important to kind of have those relationships with as much of the team as possible, and just to kind of understand, okay, who does what and who's my go-to person for this. I mean, that'll help you in all aspects of your agency relationships. Just understanding the roles of every person on the team, that will really, really work to your benefit.
How do you think an act you mentioned actors like, know that the agency knows you trust that. Like how do you know that as an
Yeah.
do you think?
I mean, I think it's just making sure that you're top of mind, checking in. Like you mentioned, checking in with the whole team, sending your updates. Like we at Resolute have like a team email address. That's where we like to get all of our updates on our clients about, what classes you're taking and what casting directors do you have relationships with, or did you get some feedback from someone that was helpful for you? All of those things are really good to know, and they help us all to kind of stay on top of each other's clients and to understand where everybody's coming from. And also, I think just being as involved as possible. Our agency, we offer a lot of like mixers and Zoom sessions and Q&As where you can come in and ask questions and meet the team. So I think just taking advantage of those opportunities as much as possible. And I will say also, Resolute, unfortunately, we're fully remote, but if you have a team that's in person, stopping by the office, during the holidays, or coming in for an in-person meeting, just seeing people's faces, is so, so, so helpful, because we can look at you all day through a screen at your headshot and your resume, but it's a totally different impression seeing you in person and how you carry yourself. So I think that's the best way to kind of maintain those relationships and feel supported, is if you know that everybody knows your face, they know your vibe, they know your energy. And without overstepping, you've made it clear that you're known and you're here, and you want to be involved.
I feel like those days are gone.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Although I guess I've heard from different actors, some specific agents have some in-person meetings here and there,
Yeah.
but it's crazy how things just did not go back,
Right.
after COVID. Like
Yeah.
it was a big transition.
Mhm.
But speaking of transitions, you obviously made that transition to Resolute.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to make a change? Because I think anytime we make a change in our life, work, relationship, in this case, kind of both, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? It's tough,
Mhm.
So for you personally, how come you decided to make a change, and like what are some goals that you have on the forefront?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was ultimately just about a growth opportunity in my own career. I just kind of wanted to be opened up to new things and new opportunities, new markets. So, Resolute is deeply involved in the New York market. We have an office there as well. And that was something I was really interested in learning more about and making connections with those casting directors. As well, Resolute offers a stage division, which that's my bread and butter. I went to school for acting, and theater has always been like my number one passion in life, and I love working with theater actors. And so I was really excited by the opportunity to kind of get into that side of the business, and looking Broadway and national tours and cruises. Live performance really, really excites me, and working with those artists really excites me. So yeah, it was just an opportunity for me to grow and to kind of get new insights into my career, and also just to work with a team that was really, really supportive of that, and really wanted to expand and grow along with me. And they brought me on to kind of assist in building their commercial division and extending their relationships in the Georgia market. And so we're kind of all working together as a team to build the agency together. And it feels really exciting to kind of have a common goal in that sense. So yeah, it was just all about growth.
I love that. Yeah, and Paige is leading the way there at Resolute, and she's been on the show and she's awesome. Love Paige. She has such a fantastic energy to
Hmm.
her. So then, if you're an actor repped with Resolute, so then you have access to both the Southeast and New York markets. Is that something that just automatically happens? You get repped across the board, like theater, all that stuff. If that's something that you're interested in and can do.
Yeah, it's a case by case basis. So I have some actors that I only have in Atlanta who aren't quite ready to make that jump into the New York market yet. it is the hardest market to crack in the world, and I cannot stress that enough. Like, trying to move from a regional market to New York, especially if you're not local there, is very, very difficult. So, not everybody is ready to make that leap right from the get-go. So, I have some clients who I just have for Atlanta and the Southeast, and we're kind of working on building those credits, getting some co-stars under your belt, getting some big names on your resume, some CDs, and then we can have a conversation later on about introducing you into the New York market. I have some actors who I have here in Atlanta who are only signed in New York because they love their local agent here, but they wanted the opportunity to expand into New York, and we're happy to work with them in that capacity as well. And then I have some actors that I rep across the board in both markets. So yeah, it can kind of be anything, and we really do try to tailor it to each individual client and what makes sense for them, what makes sense for their career, and kind of what aligns with what we need in all of our rosters across the board. But yeah, it can vary.
Does that get confusing? I feel like that could be tough having, actor A, we rep you across the board, actor B, only in the Southeast, actor C, you're in the Southeast, but only in New York. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like it could be a little confusing.
Yeah, you definitely have to be very, very organized. I have many lists.
Yeah.
A lot of lists, a lot of breakdowns, folders. We have systems in which we organize our clients so that we know who is where and who can work where as a local. It can be challenging to keep track of for sure, but you just have to be on top of it.
Right.
Yeah.
You said that New York is a really hard market to tap into.
Mhm.
Why is that? Like, what is it about New York that, for some reason, actors can't get the same opportunities, or can't get the opportunities, or whatever it might be?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons. I think, for one, New York has just been around for so long. It's been this institution for acting, for film, TV, for theater, especially. It's just been around so long that you have these casting directors like Telsey and TRC who have been there for decades. And they know their people, they know who they like. And it can be hard to kind of crack into those offices, especially if you're new and if you're coming from a regional market. I also think there's just such a giant pool of actors in New York. I mean, so many actors move to New York to do this, and the same is true in LA. They already have all these actors who are local who are at their disposal. They don't really feel the need to reach out of market as much. And so, we may be pitching you and saying, "Oh, you're a local hire," but, if they haven't seen your face very much or very often, or if they're just not familiar with you, or if they know that you're not quite a local, that's where it can get a little tricky. It's also just especially with, theater and some of the procedurals, it's a very, for lack of a better word, it's a snobby market. These
Mm.
casting directors have very, very high standards, and they want you to have a very specific kind of headshot, and they want you to have your resume exactly so, and they want to see that you've taken classes with certain people. They have very elevated standards for what they're looking for, and so it can be a little bit harder to kind of break in if you're not coming from that New York background, if you haven't lived there and done it for a while.
Wow, yeah. So, what advice would you give an actor that's here in the Southeast that is wanting to expand to that market? What advice would you give them? Whether it's like spend a week in New York and take with that instructor, or stay consistent, getting in front of a specific casting director in different workshops, or get that headshot, or whatever it might be. All of the above. I'm not sure, but like, what's the biggest piece of advice you would give for the actor that's here in the Southeast that's like wanting to expand their opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, all of the things you just mentioned, I think are really the best ways to kind of introduce yourself to the market. I would say do as much research as you can. As much as agents, we want to support you in your career and kind of help you and educate you. We're not always able to tell you exactly, all right, these are all the classes you need to take, or these are all the casting directors to know, and these are how your headshot should look. If you have a manager, that can kind of be their job at times. But it's also on you as the actor to take your time, do your due diligence, do your research, understand what the major casting offices are, understand the projects they are casting right now. What are the projects that they're doing right now that you might be right for? Have a really solid understanding of what's actually happening and do that research. I think just familiarizing yourself with the market as much as possible will really give you an edge. And just like you said, getting into as many of those rooms as you can. So, if Bowling Misha is doing an intensive, that's a great place to get in front of. If TRC is doing a workshop, something like that is great to take advantage of. So it's just kind of understanding who the big players are and trying to get yourself seen by those people as much as possible. And yeah, just try to be patient with the process because it can
Yeah.
be a process.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, How do you what about the actor that's doing because you mentioned being really passionate about stage and different maybe like tour opportunities or
Mhm.
cruises, stuff like that. For the actor that is maybe started doing that. Well, I feel like most actors start there, and maybe want to get back into that, and you're here in Atlanta.
Mhm.
I feel like that almost seems like not a possibility.
Mhm.
So can you talk about what action steps maybe need to be taken if they're like, yeah, I mean, I'd love to be auditioning here in the Southeast, but I would also go on a tour in a heartbeat. I would do that in a second. What are some things that they can be doing? Because I feel like the training isn't that type of training, at least, isn't as prevalent here.
Yeah, the training is very, very different. And if you're coming from a place where you don't have, a degree in acting, or you didn't study at a conservatory, or you didn't, take 20 years of voice and dance lessons, you kind of have to understand that you're coming at it from sort of an underdog position, right? Like you're not always going to be able to compete with those people who have been doing this for years and years. So it's not to say that it could never happen, but you just have to be that much more, passionate and that much more driven about the training that you are getting, and talk to your agent about, what classes they recommend. And it may be that if you're really somebody who wants to move into stage work and you want to change that to be your focus, you might consider making the move to New York, because truthfully, Atlanta, we have some great theaters, but as far as, getting on Broadway, getting off Broadway, those opportunities can be difficult to come by if you're not there and taking those classes and going to those auditions in person. It's a whole different ballgame. So I think it's just having a really good understanding of what the requirements are, and just trying to kind of supplement as much as you can and make those leaps. It's definitely a very difficult transition to make. And I don't know that it's for everybody. I find that it works better a lot of the time in reverse, where, theater actors who have that training and that basis can then go into TV and film as they evolve. Doesn't always work the other way around. Um,
Why do you think that is?
I think it's just when you train for theater, obviously I'm biased because that's kind of
Yeah.
the world that I come from. But when you train for theater, I mean, especially if you come from like a BFA program or an intensive, this is all you're doing for, years. That you focus on this for years. And in your classes, you're not just talking about like, okay, how do I book a role? How do I, make relationships with casting, which are all important things to know. And the business of it all is very important to know. But I think focusing on craft and your intention as an actor, and understanding script analysis, understanding movement, combat, voice technique, all of these things really come into play, whether you're acting for the stage or whether you're acting on camera. And so I think just having that basis of craft really does put you at an advantage at times. Not to say that there aren't multiple ways into the industry, because of course people get into this, from all kinds of backgrounds and at all different ages and at points of life. But I just think there's something to be gained from theater training that you can't really find anywhere else.
Mm, nice. Yeah. I mean, there's absolutely, I mean, and I think that's why, if you have not done theater to some capacity as an actor, you absolutely should, even if it's a
Hmm.
community show or something, because uh casting directors look at that differently, because like if you've done theater, it's like the curtain goes up. There's not like, let's do take two, you know what I
Right.
mean? So there's a certain perseverance and determination and willpower that goes
Hmm.
into theater that is not in film and TV at all.
Yeah, it's just a completely different way of working. And, the benefit of working on stage is that you really get to play the entire arc of the character in one go,
Yeah.
maybe over two acts, but in one go, you get to experience this character's beginning, middle, and end and how they evolve. Whereas with film and TV, I mean, you could be shooting the last scene first, or, going all around. And it's just a completely different way of working. And also, I think, kind of as you mentioned, there's just something to be said about, actors who can take the stage, have that presence, and just go. And like they have the stamina, they have the trust in themselves and their castmates, to maintain a show and to keep the audience engaged. It's a really challenging thing to do. And I think it's something that actors should take advantage of as much as they possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. So wait, with Paige, were you like, all right, the deal if I come on is you got to let me come to some Broadway shows?
I'm hoping. I'm really hoping.
All right,
Yeah.
Paige, I'm putting it in her contract. I'm putting it in her contract,
Yeah,
Paige.
right. Yeah, no, I mean, I am super, super passionate about live theater. It's one of my favorite things to do, like, to this day. I love going to the shows, like, here in Atlanta, just locally at the theaters here, and, I'm really excited about the opportunities that are coming to our clients at Resolute. We just had someone come off, Broadway and Floyd Collins, who did an amazing run, and it's just really exciting to kind of see those things come up, and, yeah, hopefully one of these days, I'll make it up there to New York and see somebody's Broadway debut. That would be a dream. That would be awesome.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. What are some of your favorite theaters here in Atlanta?
Horizon Stage did an amazing production of Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812. This is where I'm gonna get, like, really nerdy.
Good, good.
It is a
Show us your
fantastic
nerdiness.
musical.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, they've, kind of revamped it, I think, like, 3 times because they won so many local theater awards for it, and I even brought my fiancé who's, like, not a theater person. He kinda comes with me just because he knows it makes me happy, but he was like, loved that. The energy, it's very interactive. There's live music, and the singing is just phenomenal, and, just getting to see the actors, it was kind of an intimate space. We were sitting at, like, a bar on, like, a little table on the set, and the characters are jumping up on the
Oh,
table and
cool.
dancing and
That's
involving you in the song, and, there's just nothing like that, and so that was one recently that I was really, really impressed by.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I like that. That's I feel like my wife Candace and I will go to the Fox a
of
lot.
course.
But I'm like, this is a good reminder to I need to look at the local theaters, like Horizon, also, and like put some of those dates on the calendar
Yeah.
to get to those because I feel like sometimes the Fox is just so big. I mean, it's
Yes.
a beautiful theater.
Oh,
Like if
yeah,
you've never been there, you got to go.
of course.
But it's just so big. It's so
Yeah.
massive. I'm like, this actually, like when you think about like Broadway shows
Mhm.
in New York, it's like I feel like the Fox is like 3 times bigger than all of those
Yeah,
stages,
it's
So like
huge.
you miss that kind of intimacy that you're kind of
Mhm.
talking about.
Yeah, and it's a very different experience, seeing a national tour come through at the Fox, something like Mean Girls or Hamilton, that's an amazing experience to have, but it is something else entirely to be in a really intimate stage with local actors who have really put their heart and soul into this. I have such a passion for local theater, and I think it's just so important to, especially when times are kind of volatile and difficult. I think it's so important to support your local artists and the people who are getting up and doing this in your community. And these theaters need our support now kind of more than ever. So I think as much as you can, getting out, getting involved, seeing shows, investing in these theaters and these communities is super, super important.
I agree, and I think it's a good thing to remember that, we wanna be part of the art, if
Yes.
you will, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, if you wanna be part of it, then you obviously want people to support you and watch what you will bring
Mhm.
to, the art, if you will,
Mhm.
right? And so it's like, you gotta give back as well. You have to go support as well. So, it's a circle of life, if you will, and
Yeah.
and we should be giving the same way we would wanna be receiving it.
Yeah, and I can't tell you how many times I've been to a live theater performance and seen an actor that really stood out to me and signed them. Like
Yeah.
it just happens. Like especially I think there's something that I gain as an agent when I'm watching a live performance versus something, over Zoom or a self-tape. You get so much more of a person's essence, and also you really get to see them listen. I went to a showcase recently that was an in-person live theater showcase, and they did, 10 to 15-minute scenes. And what really stood out to me while watching these actors wasn't necessarily when they were the focus of the scene or when they were doing their lines, but it's watching how they listen and how they react and how they receive to what's happening around them. That's what really draws me into an actor because that shows me craft and that shows me understanding of the script, understanding of your character, and just how you really live in that moment. That's what really makes an actor stand out to me. So I think, going to live theater really gets to show me a side of you as an actor that's really exciting and something I just love to be.
Yeah, Candace was in an Actors Express show, and so I had obviously gone,
Yes.
and he spoke with some other actors there, and I was surprised how many theater actors really didn't know much about film and TV. Didn't know
Right.
how to go get an agent. They really didn't. They just weren't educated.
Mhm.
That's all. So when you see an actor on stage, is there a worry that they're not going to understand the film and TV side of it? Like, what are the things that you're looking for, or maybe the other side of it, maybe that are red flags
Mm.
that might, like, oh, I liked them on stage, but actually they're not ready.
Yeah. I mean, there can definitely be times when, I think the biggest challenge when you're transitioning from the stage to TV and film is that I don't want to say that you have to shrink, but you have to adjust your performance for a whole different kind of focus. So, there's a big difference between doing a huge like Book of Mormon tap number
Yeah.
versus doing, a commercial audition. It's a different scale, it's a different set, it's a different environment. So, I think for me, as long as a theater actor is open to understanding that they're going to have to rethink the way that they've learned to do things and get some advice on how to sort of change their technique and change their approach. I think having that openness is the best thing you can do. I find also with theater actors, sometimes it's easier to help someone condense and to kind of scale back and tone down than it is to get someone to bring more.
Right.
Sometimes that is really hard. And I'm sure you know from coaching, like with
Hmm.
actors, sometimes it can be hard to be like, just go for it, be bold, make a bigger choice. That can be a really big hurdle for actors. And so I think sometimes, having the opposite change can be a little bit of a smoother transition of just kind of reframing and going into this like more condensed sort of style.
If we're talking about bringing on actors onto the roster in general,
Mhm.
what are some things that you're really looking for? And then being at Resolute, does it completely change depending on like the category, right? Because you have
Mhm.
like commercially and theatrically, just the Southeast and New York, also stage. Like there's
Yeah.
so many categories, it seems like at Resolute.
Mhm.
What are some things that you're looking for that make you and the team say, "Oh, yeah, we like this person. We want to bring them on."
Yeah, I think having a strong sense of individuality is so important for actors. Having a strong understanding of what do you bring to the table that nobody else is? What is your spark? What is your essence that makes you stand out? And understanding how that works in your market. So, um, it makes my job so much easier if I'm talking to an actor and they say, I know that I'm right for these 3 series, or I know that I could work with these brands, or I know that I'm perfect for these theater shows. I think it's the job of the actor to really understand where you fit. And of course, as agents, we can help you with that. And we can pitch you for different opportunities and kind of see how your career evolves with you. But you also have to understand your brand and your essence and what you bring to the table. So I think having that sense of individuality, really owning what you know, owning what you can do, being really proud of yourself, really confident, that of course makes you stand out. And then yeah, I think for me too, it just I feel like I can tell as soon as I see an actor that they're trained and that they're disciplined and that they're open to feedback. That is the biggest, most important thing that you can do as an actor is be open to evolving, be open to receiving feedback and to changing and to hearing new perspectives and making different choices. I feel like where actors get stuck is when they're really rigid. It's like, oh, I've been doing this one thing for so long, or I've been only playing these kinds of roles for so long. But like being open to having that challenge, I think is soon as well.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's, yeah, I can't agree more. And I think, I don't know what the saying is. I'm not even going to try to quote it. I'm going to butcher it, but it's like the older I get, the more I realize I don't know, or something like
Yes,
that, And so I think that like, that's just like a good thing to think about within the industry too. And being an actor is like, it doesn't mean you're green and
of
inexperienced if you're
course.
always open to kind of morphing and being malleable and change, right? That
Mhm.
like just makes you wiser.
Exactly. And those are the actors that we want to work with for decades, the ones who understand that the industry changes and what worked 10 years ago might not work now. And especially since things have changed so much since COVID and the strikes and everything, I think, the actors who are willing to kind of ride the waves and evolve and understand that things just work differently now than they used to. I think those are the actors who are going to have the best chances. Yes.
Gosh, you're so right about that. I mean, just in the past 5 years, the industry has gone through and been through so much. And if you are the actor that's like, I'm owed something, or I should be further
Mhm.
along, or this isn't fair, you are going to be stuck in a place
Exactly.
of like unhappiness and like anger. You have to be ready to morph and move with the business and do everything that you can to move forward and
Mhm.
not be angry at it. Oh man, I am so excited. And I tell you what, if you're enjoying the podcast, I know you're going to want to hear this. We have our 3-day virtual actor summit coming up. This event is a 3-day online immersive event, 3 full days that are focused on moving you forward, getting you inspired, giving you a game plan to reach those next set of goals that you so deeply want to achieve. I love the Virtual Actor Summit so much because I can make you this promise that this will be undoubtedly one of the best online actor events you will ever attend. We bring instructors in from around the country, some of the top industry pros. We put together different panels and online workshops that really get you outside of your comfort zone so you can truly grow. What's so fantastic about this event is because you're completely immersed, right? So you have to grow. And that's what we're all trying to do, right? Is grow in our actor journey and grow in who we are as people. And so I just want to urge you so much to go to the description right now. There's a little bit of a discount there for you and grab your ticket, okay? It's 3 full days. And I'll tell you, we already have one of the top casting directors in the Southeast in Feldstein, Paris, Chase and Tara already confirmed for this event. They've cast a bunch of different Marvel projects, Ozark, Stranger Things, the list goes on and on and on. So if you want to put yourself in a situation to really move your career forward, you have to take action. So take some action right now, head to the description, grab that discount code, and we'll see you at the Virtual Actor Summit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's so true. Not being angry at the business is hard at times.
Yeah.
It's a very, very frustrating business to work in. And you can work at it for 20 years and never maybe reach the version of success that you want. And that can be really, really challenging. And it's super humbling for people. And so, I completely understand, when people are like, I need to take a break from this for a minute and I need to kind of figure out who I am. I need to take care of me as a person. That's so important as well, just as an actor, self-care and understanding your needs as not only as an actor and a professional, but just as a person. What do you need to do to take care of yourself and make sure that you feel supported and strong enough to be in this business and to do what it's asking of you, because it asks a lot.
What do you do in that area of your life as an agent?
Oh my gosh. It's so hard. I think separation of work-life balance is so hard for agents. I think, we have a lot of late nights, we work a lot of weekends, we work a lot of holidays. So it's really important to just kind of try to make that distinction as much as possible and to give yourself that time. I think sometimes people forget that, like, for agents, like, this is our job. Like, this is our 9 to 5.
Right.
And sometimes our 5 to 11 and,
Yeah,
whatever it may
yeah.
be. So, I think, being able to unplug once in a while is super important. And I really try and take time for myself as much as I can to just like carve out time that I'm spending with my friends, my family, reconnecting with people who are not at all involved in this business is so important, just to kind of ground yourself,
Yeah,
reconnect, get out
totally.
of it. And then, yeah, just taking care of yourself. Like, I really love running and working out. I still do ballet. Like,
Yes.
fulfilling those kind of creative outlets and those like physical outlets as much as possible, just taking care of yourself, is super, super important, not just for actors, but agents and everyone as well.
Nice. Do you know my very first paid performing gig was the Nutcracker?
Amazing. How
Yep.
old were you?
I was probably 22.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Were you dancing?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I had somebody who was putting on the Nutcracker and they had no guys at all.
Yeah.
And so they were like, we need someone who's like strong that can like lift the girls.
Sure.
Will you do it? And I was
Happens all the
like,
time.
I'm in, let's do it.
I'll
And
lift some people, no problem.
yep, I'll
Yep.
lift some people. But I was like, I'm going to take this really seriously.
Of
I'm going to
course.
learn ballet in 3 months.
Yeah.
I did not learn ballet in 3 months,
It's
but
hard.
it was so hard. But
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the challenge and
Yeah.
I did my best.
Yeah, and hey, I'm no ballerina. There's a studio in Atlanta that does like adult ballet classes, and so there's people who have been doing it. They were babies, and people who dance semi-professionally. There are people who are brand new, and we all dance together on Monday nights, and it's awesome. It's just such a great like outlet to get your body moving, get creative, and just have like no stakes. It's like this. I'm just doing this to take care of myself and to learn something new. It's really fun.
Yeah, I think like a year ago or 2 years ago, Candace and I did some adult ballet classes
So
together.
fun.
Yeah, and it was hard again. It
It's
was
very
also
hard.
Yeah. Well, Caroline, I've really enjoyed this conversation. We do have to get to our spotlight sign off, which is 5 questions to end strong.
Okay.
Question number 1 is, what's something you're super grateful for today?
Oh my God. Today, I am super grateful for my health and having a body that can move
Mm.
and do everything I need it to do and that is healthy. I'm really, really grateful.
Such a good reminder. Everyone listening right now, if you got a healthy body right now, you're moving around, feeling good, don't take that for granted. So
Mhm.
good, so good. What is a movie, TV show, or book, or I'll give you theatrical production
Okay.
that changed the trajectory of your life?
Ooh, okay. I know the answer to this. And it is theater.
Okay.
My grandfather took me to see a production of West Side Story when I was, I think, 11 or 12 at Bass Hall, which is like the regional kind of performance center in Fort Worth where I grew up. We sat in the second row, and I just remember being like blown away by these performers and thinking, "Oh my gosh, like this is magic. What's happening here is magic, and I have to be involved in this somehow." And that's really what got me into acting, was seeing that performance truly, and then started kind of the whole trajectory of my career. And it's kind of all coming full circle now because I'm actually getting married in that performance hall later this
What?
year.
Oh
Yeah,
my
so
gosh.
that's been a really, really special.
That's so cool. I
Yeah,
love that. I love that. Yeah, that's definitely a big change in trajectory there.
yeah.
Heck yeah. What is something in your daily routine that you really cherish?
Mm. Honestly, and this is gonna sound so cheesy, I really just cherish having quality time with my fiance. Like every day we take a moment to just kind of debrief, whether it's over dinner or on a walk, we really talk about, our days and what happened and our goals and our life, and just having that time to kind of ground ourselves and reconnect because we're both in pretty stressful kind of roles in our careers, and having that time together where we can just kind of decompress and talk is,
I love that.
yeah.
Is that your love language? Quality time?
I would say so. Yeah, or words of affirmation. It all kind of goes together, but
Well,
yeah.
you're wonderful. All right. You're wonderful. So there's some words of affirmation for you.
Thank you so much.
Um, cool. Question 4 is, what is something that you are trying to improve in your life right now?
Hmm. I'm trying to get better at running. I feel like I
Get
keep
better at
coming back
running.
running, yeah. I feel like I keep coming back to exercise, but that's just what's been on my mind recently.
That's good.
Yeah, I picked up running this year as like my New Year's resolution. I've never been a runner in my life.
Well, you're a runner now.
But I am a runner now. I
Yeah.
did my first 5K in March, and kind of
Nice.
working towards a 10K now.
Ooh.
And so yeah, it's just something I'm always trying to improve on, and it's really satisfying to like feel yourself getting better at something. Like
Yes.
6 months ago I couldn't run 5 miles, and now I can. It's really fulfilling.
So what do you
So
mean by so you're saying get better at running? You are getting better.
I want to get faster.
Okay, you want to get faster.
I
All
want to
right.
get faster, and I want to be able to run longer.
Okay, got
Yeah,
it. All right.
yeah,
Well, that's very measurable.
yeah.
That's
It's a
pretty
measurable goal.
That's very
It's nice.
measurable, very easy to achieve, I think.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah,
Get your ass running.
I'm trying.
Good job. I love it.
Thanks.
All right. Well, last question. It could be something we already kind of went over, and we'll bring the call back to it, or maybe something else. But if you wanted the listeners to get one thing for sure, what would it be?
To get one thing for sure
Yeah, something from the
from the
episode.
episode.
Yeah, something to learn.
Mm. I think having an understanding of who you are and not what the business wants from you is so, so important. Taking care of yourself as a performer, understanding who you are, understanding what makes you different, what's valuable, what you bring to the table, what makes you unique. That will help you so much, not just in your career, but in life, standing firm in yourself, being true to yourself, working with integrity, and always pursuing your goals from a place of self-respect, just really enjoyment for the craft and doing what you love. I think that will take you farther than it. That's what I would
I love it.
say.
Caroline Norton, thank you so much. You were awesome.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna say goodbye. Say
Bye.
goodbye. Thank you so much for being here. It was awesome. And if you are still here, make sure to subscribe. Maverick says to subscribe too. Appreciate you being part of this show and this episode, and we look forward to continuing to serve you on your actor journey. And we'll see you on the next one. Thank you, Caroline.
Awesome. Thank you so much.